He had a TV in his office. I started walking by and I see this image of two buildings burning. And that's the first time I knew something had happened. And all of a sudden they had a replay. And I saw the first replay of the second plane being the Pentagon. That's the first time I knew anything was going on 9/11. I stopped because I was a flyer, and accidents happen, but you can tell when I saw that second airplane flying in, it was intentional. I yelled out for everybody in the office to come in, and everybody came in, and I said, I just saw an airplane flying into the World Trade Center on here. And we were all looking at it, he started to replay again. And that's when we knew we're next. It was just pretty much assumed they can take two, they can take many. And so we went back to our desk, and we had checklists. The Pentagon said, oh, everybody's on the plane, strategy, and everything else. So we had a checklist. There's a terrorist attack, and you think something's going to happen to your building, you start backing up everything. We had servers on site there at the Pentagon, and other locations to protect everything we worked on. So we went back and started executing these checklists. And a lot of time had passed. I didn't realize how much time had passed when, because I did get a phone call from my wife saying, hey, just turn on the TV. That was our code word for, hey, something's going on. You have to jump on CNN. She was off at the dentist office with Quantico with my kids. And they were watching this all unfold on TV. We got back to the desk, and so it's been a little while. And all of a sudden, we felt the building shake. Not bad. And they've been doing a lot of construction in the building. Remember the renovations they were doing at that time. And that stuff had happened before. The building shook. Right next to me, Rick Rouse, we looked at each other and man, we kept on working. About 5 minutes later, his wife called up and said, hey, they said a bomb went off at the Pentagon. Don't think so, but we'll go out. We'll look. So I told her, right, keep working, I'm going to go out and see what happens. So I walked out, and they have the center courtyard. You've seen a picture of the Pentagon, we've got all the Marines that come in. It's a nice courtyard. We call it the Ground Zero Courtyard, because we figured during the Cold War, that's where the first missile goes. It's Ground Zero. Get out there with your suntan lotion, your yard chair, and that here, because you're going to die in that process. My wife was there at the time. But that's the Ground Zero area. Well, I went out to look at the Ground Zero area, and you can see parts of the building and some other things that were in the courtyard. You can see the smoke and fire coming from the other side, coming through. So, okay, we went ahead. I went back to the office. Yeah, we went ahead. We wouldn't know because the lights were working. All we had was the building shut. And the reason what the reporter wrote, because they were on our side, the side of the building I was on was almost the complete opposite of where the plane had hit. That's where the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, and the media pool were all there. And so we all just felt the shudder. We didn't get the big loud bang. As compared to if you read the article in the Southern by Bill Kane, Bill was over on that side of the building and heard the airplane and felt the shudder a little bit more. So we knew we'd been hit. We just went back and we had to keep working. We were also members of what's called a crisis action team augmentation. We were supposed to help the people on the big command center. If something bad happened, to go in there and help them execute some plans. So we were packing up there ready to go, and they came and told us to evacuate the building. Any Navy people here? If I ever been in the Navy, you don't give up the ship. Okay, you never give up the ship. And so, and of course, I've been a Marine. My dad had been in the Navy in World War II, and it was just a thing like, no, we're not going to leave. We're not leaving. So they come in, the fire department, the generals come in, get out of the building, get out of the building, and get other things coming. So we went down, and as you walk down Corridor 8, which is out by that river entrance, that nice big parade field they have, walking along, there's bathrooms and there's water. And one of the things you learn in survival school is you don't pass up two things, a water source and a chance to go to the bathroom, because you don't know where you get a chance. So we walked in the bathroom and realized the place is packed. Everybody's having the same conversation. Do we leave or do we go? We're being ordered to leave, but we don't want to leave because things need to take place. And maybe they've taken out of context a couple of times, but I was looking around the bathroom and the Pentagon said, I looked at Reed and said, you know, if you die here, we die here. And he didn't realize what I was saying until he started looking around and started laughing, because who wants to be the butt of some Pentagon joke? Yeah, they died in the bathroom on 9/11. That was just something else. So we said, okay, let's go. So we started leaving the Pentagon. Again, I'm going to turn back to, we had good evacuation programs. We knew what we were supposed to do. You know, to most of us, it was like clockwork going out of the building. We knew we were supposed to rally, how to count for people. We saw some of the wounded when we came out, and you would stop and say, hey, do you need some help? And be a medic like that. You couldn't finish your sentence if you saw somebody wounded before, so there was a medic there. So the plans worked. I can't say enough about the hospital people, the firefighters, the police, everybody responded right there. So we got out past the Pentagon, we're staying around outside, and they finally came in, we counted, we had one person missing, and then we finally were able to count for him. And they told us to go home, there's another airplane coming in. Well, you think about an airplane coming in, you already know the building's been hit. There was a Navy aviator and I were both standing around, we're looking at the Pentagon going, if you're going to hit, where would you hit and how would you do it? We stopped and we realized, we just looked at the river where it's coming in, and the next airplane's coming this way. So we stopped, looked around, we looked at where the overpasses. If they're going to hit, we want to be away from the building from any debris, and that's the way we started walking. We spent the next over an hour walking down towards the Braddock Road station, the metro. Remember what happened at that time, everything shut down. There was gridlock coming out of Pentagon. The metro station is shut down, the buses aren't running, and there are just people wandering out. So we just had a plan. We walked down to Springfield. If they don't have the buses there for us, we're walking the rest of the 26 miles home. Fortunately for us, by the time we walked several miles down the Braddock Road, the metro stations were there. Along the way, I was fortunate when I walked out of the Pentagon, I grabbed my gym bag, and in it I had a Walkman with an FM radio, so we had flipped over to the station. Along that walk, we heard about buildings collapsing, and people didn't believe me. I walked along, because we're outside of these hotels in Crystal City, south of the Pentagon, and they're like, what's going on? What's happening? He's like, well, they just said one of the towers collapsed. One of the people said, I don't believe you. I said, well, I gave them the headset, they listened, they started cussing, carrying on, gave them back to me, and we kept on. But that's the way we kept it informed. Got down to Braddock Road, the metros were packed because everybody's trying to get out of town. At least we got onto the metro, got down to Springfield, which is the last metro station in the south in Virginia. There they had buses to take us out, and again, they were executing the plan properly. I was able to get on a bus, I was the last person on. They didn't have any seats, so I sat down. The driver didn't like it. I said, hey, it's a terrorist attack, it's a bad day. I'll take my risk and sing the bus on the floor. Drove down to Woodbridge, got out. Unfortunately, I didn't know my kids had watched everything on TV, to include the Pentagon attack. And they thought they knew where I was. I used to work on that side of the building one time. I worked on the air staff. But I moved over to the joint staff. And they were pretty much convinced I was dead. So I was fortunate enough, I was able to get a message out to my wife. She will send emails out to people, because we had cable internet. At that time, the phone system was dead. I think about 5 minutes after I got my phone call out from the Pentagon telling my wife I was okay and I was leaving the building, the phone system was dead, so she was able to use the cable internet to verify I was alive. My kids didn't believe me, so on the way home I had to stop. They went to a small Christian school not far from our house. I was able to stop to go into the school. One of the odd things was there was a lady named Claudia who was sitting in a chair, and she's just shaking like this. And I was like, what's wrong with Claudia? And the secretary told me she was going to her office. She was on the road. I saw the airplane go right over the cars in front of her, hit the light poles there, and go right into her office and kill everybody in her office. And so when people talk about, did missiles go into the building? No, I can tell you witnesses who actually saw the airplane go into the building. But at least I was able to stop. My son was still upset. He came out and talked to him, talked to my daughter, hey, I'm alive. But they couldn't tell anybody else because there were many of us from our church who worked in the Pentagon, and we didn't know if their parents were alive or dead. So it was pretty rough for my kids. At least they got to see that. I was able to get home by 1:30 in the afternoon. So all this really, first started for me at 9 o'clock. By 1:30 I was home. If you remember, later that night, the president came on board and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go after these people. And just before that, I got a phone call saying, report to the Pentagon tomorrow. They told me Friday, sometime like Friday, we might get back in the building. I said, no, you're coming back in. And we did. The next day, I got up, went to the same metro place. They had somebody who was going to go to Crystal City, and there were two of us who wanted to go to the Pentagon. She took us over as close as you could get, which is about a mile from the Pentagon. We went in. It took about an hour and a half to get through security, because by then we pretty much had the Army right in the place with the body armor, there was airplanes flying. We had a lot of help there, but the building was still on fire. By the time we got into the office, our place was filled with smoke and soot, but we were there. We were trying to send a statement to the people who did it, and we did. So that morning, we pretty much cleaned up, and we did an after-action decision, because one of the things we realized is our door had been blocked. How did we get out? I knew there was a false wall back there. I said, we just go through this wall. But now that became the point where we started building these, we got go bags, bags which knock down things, how to escape. So we then built escape bags. But about 10 o'clock is the first time we ever got these little masks to help us with the soot, because we all started getting headaches. And we found out later, when the fire department came through with a little meter, they looked at it and we were 3 times over the level rate for carbon monoxide. So we all had carbon monoxide poisoning. Thanks to the way the Pentagon was built, the smoke came up, came in the air conditioning system, and got us. So that's the reason why we had all this smoke and all this horsehair. That was the odd thing. Horsehair was inside the smoke. So after a while, they sent us home, and that was pretty much it for me for the 9/11 and the day after. I spent the next 6 months working on the crisis action team as we stood up to go into Afghanistan and work those kind of plans. Until April of 2002, none of us really got a break. But we're still in Afghanistan. I still think we're still pursuing, but hopefully we'll be the conclusion with everybody else. That's just pretty much what happened that day, those days. Any kind of questions? Or well, thank you for your time. And again, thank you for what you guys do in the community. Yes.
You said you were working in the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Did the chairman or the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff come out and talk to the troops?
They not during that day, but I saw a lot of the chairman. The chairman's getting ready to retire. His September 30th was the end of his time. He's getting ready to go and leave, and they were supposed to have a farewell for him that following week, and that took place. We still saw General Shelton, but he was on his way out. General Myers, who's to be the next chairman of Joint Chiefs, we saw a lot of him. We saw Rumsfeld was around. People who worked for him, Wolfowitz, and those kind of people were around quite a bit. And of course, we had the memorial a month later where they came out and spoke and talked. But there was a lot of rally troops. There was a lot of support put out there because 2 people I knew were killed. Pat Dunn, who was in the Navy. He just, I don't know if you saw Parade Magazine last September, his wife was pregnant when he was killed, and they had a daughter. She's since remarried, but Pat was one of the guys I saw at the gym all the time. The Pentagon's a big stress factor. And so I had all these people, 2 o'clock, my circadian rhythm says it's time to go to sleep, it's time for the siesta. I just learned at 2 o'clock I would go to the gym. Well, Pat had the same kind of body rhythm, and I see Pat over there. We used to chase each other off to either exercise machines or weight machines. And then Scott Powell, who was a civilian contractor, was in that office I was talking about earlier. He was killed in there. And so for people who lost people they knew, they want to make sure to come up, are you okay, you okay, you okay. And so there was a lot of support, and it came from Rumsfeld on down. We saw a lot of